Hey everyone, my name is Michelle Bajan and I am the host of the academic program. The academic program is completely new at the festival. Last year we did a panel talk like this. It was quite small and we did it quite spontaneously. It was Simon Alejandro, the festival director's idea, and we started just brainstorming, and we did a talk on international arts and cultural collaborations, which went really well, and we got good feedback. So we realized that this is something we need to do again, only bigger, which is why we're here today. And for us in Jungelfest, it's been important that this event, the academic program, is free, that it's an open space where we can hang out, have fun, talk, and enjoy talking together and being present, and not only listening to music, but also talk to each other about music and all that comes with it, I guess. So today, first we're going to have a panel talk, and then Haj Samir, introducing you quite early on here, who's come from France for this event. We'll talk about Rai music, so I hope that you're going to stay for that as well. I have one important message before we start. As you see, there are cameras around, and we have Lotte here taking pictures. If you're not comfortable being in photos, then talk to Lotte or talk to Zachary over there with the camera. We'll make sure that nothing gets published or anything. But just so you know, it's only us sitting here that's in the video recording. The panel talk. How many have read the text or knows the title of this panel talk? Yeah. Testing the audience. Also testing the audience at home, listening. So the title is it's a long title. It's Music, Culture, and Identity. What significance can music have for our identities? Which is like, whoa, it's big stuff. This is deep stuff. And quite personal stuff. So we're going to try to discuss this. This is an attempt of discussing it. It's an informal talk with some people here. And then in the end, we're going to open up for questions from all of you in the audience. I'm going to introduce you guys, and you are free to add if I miss something important. I'm going to start with Tora here on my left-hand side. Tora Söderström Garden, you're a music therapist, and you also have a PhD in music therapy. So you're bringing some academic perspectives to this talk. And I should also mention that you are a DJ, a musician, an amazing DJ actually, and a cultural organizer. Then over here with the A-laget t-shirt, we have Girson. He's a rapper, manager, and I would say one of Bergen's most active cultural organizers. Among other things, you run the record label Full Effect, or Full Effect in English. And you're one of the founding members of the hip-hop collective NMG Huset, or NMG House. And currently you're also working with talent development and as manager. I think I said that actually. And you've also recently established a foundation called 5071 or 5071 Foundation with the aim of creating low threshold activities for kids and youth in Bergen. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then over here, not closest to me, but over there, we have Haj Samir. You're a French-Algerian music archivist. You collect music. You collect records, tapes, and more. You're also a lecturer and music selector, documentarist. We'll get back to all of this later. But if you didn't think this was impressive enough, then I can inform you that Haj is also a medical researcher working with kids suffering from a rare disease. That's today's fun fact. Yeah. And then we have Irem Muftolo. communications manager at Borealis Festival, a festival for experimental music, and you have previously led the music festival, Bergen International Music Festival. You're a musician, a chorist, and I would also say that you're a very wise and interesting person in this setting, in the context of what we're going to discuss. So yeah, that's this amazing panel. And very short about me. My name is Michelle Bajan, as I said. I'm the host, moderator of this talk. And I have a master's degree in cultural and community psychology. And I work for Jungel as well. So yeah, I think we're going to get started. But I have something I want to ask everyone in the panel, but also everyone in the audience. I want you all to think of a music memory that has had some sort of significance to you. It doesn't have to. I'm not going to give you the mic and tell you to say it out loud, but I just want you to think of it. Yeah, and that includes you in the panel. We'll get back to that. Tora, you're a music therapist. You have a PhD in music therapy. I want you to say a little bit about music and how it influences us. Can you tell me what music does to us in a simple way?
It's a big question, I guess, but kind of simple as well, because I think we can all relate to how music moves us in both like literal way. We want to move our bodies, but also how it moves us emotionally. So a lot happens when we are exposed to music, if it is just listening to music or if it is playing music, dancing to music. A lot is going on in the body, in the brain. Music is pretty unique in the way that it activates a lot of different areas in the brain, which is pretty cool. Like areas that has to do with speech and communication, with coordination, with memories, emotions, yeah, lots of stuff. And also the part of the brain that kind of connects everything, that like bridges everything together. So I think there's a lot of research that has come up during the last decade about music and the brain that can show us like these things, like areas like lighting up when we're exposed to music or participating in music, that shows how it affects us on a very deep level. But I think it's even as interesting to think about how music affects us in like a more social way, like what music does for our personal relationships, for our communities, how we use music to feel connected to each other, feeling part of a group or distancing ourselves from a group, how we use music in important rituals during life from birth until we die, how we use music to protest, to show frustration, anger, to kind of gather in unity and learn and grow. So I think music is just very, very like a huge thing, and something that we are kind of primed to kind of drift towards, because it also, from we're born, it kind of lays the foundation for how we communicate and bond to each other as humans. So I guess, yeah, I think that's enough to kind of start off.
So other people in the panel, do you get any thoughts when you hear Tora talk about this? Yeah, you have to share the mic, actually.
Who's going first? Yeah,
Hajj is going for it.
Okay, hello. I definitely do agree with Tora. Is that okay? I don't want to mispronounce. In the fact that, of course, we've been speaking about sciences, and for example, for people suffering from Alzheimer's disease, there is like a therapy called mnemotherapy, because when you got Alzheimer's, you lose your immediate memory, and those people then feel depressed, alienated, and sometimes have apathy, which is like loss of emotion. And music is used in that purpose, on that purpose, just to give back some spontaneous emotions. Because it uses like the dopamine patterns. We won't go deep inside sciences, but this is definitely to illustrate the words of Tura. So you can see like very brief, not scientists like research, but even like some common research making a significant link in between sciences and music on the brain and on social aspect as well. So I think that Jungelfest is a good space for that. And I just want to thank Simon, of course, for organizing this.
Shout out to Simon Alejandro.
Yeah, I think also like this effect that it has on us personally, also like this opportunity that the music often can bring in terms of like just traveling, like kind of feeling like you're physically traveling, just in terms of like for myself with being both from Turkey and from Norway, I've always had this like, it's such a strong feeling when you have music from Turkey. When I listen to it, how I'm like immediately like transported back to something that is so important to me and to who I am. But also that is very, not having grown up there, also very, there's a lot of melancholy and a lot of like sadness as well connected to the feelings, because you're not also 100%, or if we're getting into percentage, you're not like completely of that place, or you don't know it in and out. And I think like music really functions as this therapy in connecting with a different place, and
and you can connect or be transported to a different place where you're not physically at. Does this resonate with you, Gerson?
Oh, whoa. Can we turn me down a bit? Thanks. Not that much. Hi. Hey. No, I got nothing. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let me keep it here. Music, like you said, music is so much, and it's so big. And for instance, for me, when I came to Norway in 1990, for those first 6-7 months, when I didn't know the language yet, and hadn't like maybe made any friends, the thing that made it quite easy for me was that music, that escaping in music and discovering like rap music. It made me feel as though, I don't have to be sad that I don't know the language yet. All that will come in time, but I have this music, and it was like everything to me. Like I could spend hours in my room not worrying about going out and meeting people, just staying in there with those CDs and MTV. And and for instance, if I want to go back in time in my mind, you do that through music. Like if anyone asks me, what were you doing this and this year, I just have to think, okay, that was the year that CD came out. Okay, that was 19 such and such. And I made it my profession and my work. And so, yeah, it sounds cliche, but it's definitely everything.
Many of us who grow up with cross-cultural backgrounds, like you're saying, Irem, our parents may have grown up in a different country or culture than what we are doing. So we may not have that easy access to the culture. And then the music or the art or whatever, it's an expression that it's a way that we can get in touch with that culture that we can't access easily. And you, Irem, you've said that our parents or the people from the mother country, they can be like interpreters for us, like translating the cultural codes or the references from the culture that we don't have contact with.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, definitely like the parent or the parents that or in your life that kind of come from somewhere else, like geographically or just like from far away, definitely become, or for me has been a very important thing. They become like the only access point you have in a way to that culture or that place that you are also from, right? But just in a very different way. And so like my father has had a very instrumental role in my life. It's like I connect my my Turkishness or my identity very much to him as a person, because like he's here, he's physically in front of me, and I can I kind of trying to squeeze out as much as I can of like his knowledge or just the way that he is or acts or speaks, and it's also through language and can also be through music, but that they become these, well, I called it an interpreter or just like this symbol, which is probably also can be a heavy role to have sometimes, depending on where you're from. But in Norway, like for us, there wasn't anyone else Turkish around, right? So we didn't have like a community of other people from other places. It was just us in a very small place, and so like in-house, inside our walls, we built this like space where we could kind of remember and learn about where we were from, and he was instrumental in that. So I guess he was doing the interpreting on our behalf. Yeah.
Haj, have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it does correlate and resonate with me. Of course, both parents are Algerian, so my dad came first after the independence war, so all around the mid-60s, and he came when he was 16 years old. So at the end, before he passed away, I felt he was like more French in terms of cultural imprint than Algerian. But of course, he created that space also at home with his records collection, so that was also the starting point for me. And my mom came after. He brought my mom in France, like during the 70s. And also, he tried to push us to go to Algeria every single summer. So we had a sort of internship every single summer. That's why also I speak Arabic, thanks to my cousins and grandparents.
I just have to, that's an amazing thing. Did you call it an internship?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, or scholar vacation or whatever. I don't know, but for me that was like, building up that bridge even more stronger, so in a way. So that's why I keep going to Algeria back and forth. So, France, Algeria. And that was the starting point for sure. But at the same time, my parents tried to listen to loads of French and Western European music, let's say, just as a vector of integration in France. And that was like the nomenclature to learn the language also. So we had like the Algerian aspect, of course, and also other musics, because my dad worked for the US Army at some point, jazz and stuff, and then like the French music as well.
Very interesting. Gerson, you've told me that with age you've become more open-minded to different types of music, and also
definitely
music that your from where you're from, Cap Verde, and the music that your parents used to play. Can you say a bit about that?
Well, I have loads of memory, because I was actually born in Cape Verde, so I lived there till I was 8, and I can still remember like that we used to have like black parties where they would draw the electricity from like the light poles and stuff. Yeah, so I still remember all of that. And when I was younger, you're a bit too cool for school, and you don't want to listen to whatever your parents are listening to. But it's actually these later years that I've started to like go back and listen to the stuff that they used to listen to. A lot of it started with actually my uncle Cheese, who's playing at Jungel, when he released his music on Spotify. That really got me checking out not only his music, but a a lot of the Creole stuff that even my parents didn't play, that I didn't even know existed, like the more analog side of the Cape Verdean music.
And this is quite recently, right?
This is quite recently. I used to be like, I just listen to rap and that's it. And you know, like the last I'm not 15 anymore, so last 10-15 years you start broadening your mind a bit more, and now I'm super excited about like the music that he makes. We've even made some beats that like sample his stuff. I haven't recorded anything on it yet because I literally don't know what to do with it yet, but the beats are super dope, and it's so nice to like rediscover that music at this age, where it's easier to take it in.
So it's also starting to influence your own music then?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm not gonna go 100% Karpe on them, but we might use some samples and stuff. But.
For those who doesn't know, Karpe is a Norwegian rap group who's been sampling and using a lot of Arabic and Indian music from and samples from where their parents are from in their music. So they've become like a cool bridge in a way, bridging like cross-cultural music and Norwegian music. So that's just for the listeners who doesn't know. Tora, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah. I just wanted to comment because I think like what's like a common ground here is all of you are kind of talking about the fact that music can be a way of like marking your identity, and it's not only like by embracing a kind of music, like just like I only listen to rap. Like when you're a teenager and you kind of like discover what's like my music, it's like equal as important to like take distance. So like that's not my music, like that's my parents' music, and then how you can actually reconnect with that and discover that like that music that wasn't my music at that time of my life, it can become part of your music. So there's a music therapy researcher called Even Ruud that has done a lot of research on music and identity and like these different phases, like how musical memories and bits kind of develop throughout the lifetime to become this kind of musical biography, self-biography, where like you kind of get closer to some kind of music at some point and create memories that are very strong, that are connected to that music, and very often also involves like relationships, like friends that listen to the same music that you feel like you share a very like intimate bond with, because like we're the ones who listen to like Riot Girl rock music. Like we don't listen to that mainstream shit. Like we're different. Like and then like later like by surprise, like getting really into folk music because you were exposed to it or got to know a cool person or fell in love with someone. Like how relationships also like kind of guide us through building our own like self biographies with music. And I think also like we are several DJs here that can also kind of translate into that practice. Like when you DJ and you try to kind of curate some kind of atmosphere or vibe, or like you also bring your own like musical biography and influences into that, and some can be very personal and some can be very random, like you've just discovered some music that you really like that become your music. Because like what does that even mean? Like sometimes you feel like maybe a responsibility of knowing the context of the music, knowing especially if the lyrics are in a different language, like what are they saying and what kind of context has this music been part of. But sometimes you just like, oh my god, that sounds so dope, like I just want to find a way of kind of using it. But also navigating that can be difficult, and it's also like something you can feel a responsibility for as a DJ, because you never know who's in the room and what kind of relationship they might have with the music. So it's a challenge, but also very exciting and interesting.
It's very interesting that you say this, because I had a question at the end that I'm going to jump to now, because we discussed something recently about this that you're saying. You were invited to attend a Palestinian event as a DJ. And because I know you, I know that you have family in Palestine. You've been there before. You have a strong connection to the place. But for those who are just listening and can't see Tura is white with blonde hair. So for people attending the Palestinian event, they wouldn't necessarily know that you have a connection to the place. So we discussed a bit how you navigated that situation. Do you want to say a bit about it?
Yeah, I think it was just a moment, I guess, like now we're all in it, like this is continuing as we're sitting here, like the war that goes on and the genocide that is going on. And it's like, it was a setting where you like start to realize like how powerful the music is and how much it means, like the musical choices that you make for an event. And also this was a fundraiser, it was not meant to be a party, like so I have like not blood family in Palestine, but like the family of my heart, like sisters in Palestine. Of course, I'm not a Palestinian, but like there's a difference between like maybe like just appropriating things and trying to show solidarity and make some informed and sensitive choices to a setting. But I also question, like, should I be playing here? Like, it wasn't only me, but I thought about that and like had to find a way of choosing music and doing it in a way that I felt was as kind of, I don't know, like respectful, but also I wanted to be there and show solidarity, but also like actually taking some of these questions seriously. And I brought it up with some of the organizers that are here and we had a nice like email exchange about like how we approach this as both as musicians or DJs or working in culture, and especially in times where there are a lot of tension and realizing what it can mean. Like imagine like if I picked then you can feel like you can do some real like musical bloopers or like actually hurt people with music. I think that's also an aspect that music is something that is usually so positive, and but it also can be misused. And I'm not saying that like you have to think through all of your musical choices and like become like super like scared of playing music. But I do think that is something that many can maybe take more seriously, because like when you have the privilege to kind of set the vibe and create a musical atmosphere and invite people into that kind of setting, like there's a responsibility that comes with that, or like an invitation to actually reflect upon that. Yeah.
Any comments?
I'm just happy to see how people can be sensitive to that topic here in Norway, because in France we can feel like a strong censorship about that topic. I blame that. Unfortunately, I have to complain about this. So I'm happy to see that upper north, you have some conscious people who are able to talk freely about those things, and just having some human empathy to people being oppressed for 1 century. So that does resonate with me. We are Algerian, very close to Palestinian people, so we've been hosting them for half a century since after the independence war. They came to Algeria to work and also to give us some serious Arabic studies after the decolonialism period. And so they've been coming to our place and they've been staying there for a while. So we have like strong solidarity with them. So I'm happy to see that we are not the only ones. Of course, we're not the only ones, but I'm happy to see that even if you don't have like any common background, you can like feel being Palestinian at some point, because you feel that suffer. So yeah, I do appreciate that.
I'm gonna move a bit on, but I think this is related to what we're talking about now. I want to talk about the hidden stories behind the music that we listen to. Both Simon Alejandro, the festival director, and I, Tura and Irem, you've all emphasized the importance of naming the specific genres that we play. So not just say like, oh, I play Afrobeat, but for example say, I'm playing souk from Martinique, or I'm playing, say the specific genre, and also actually name the people that invented this music as well. Why is it important that we as music collectors, the DJs and musicians do that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I think in in general, to get more into the details of where stuff comes from, where people come from, like the specifics of different areas, like geographies, is kind of on a socio-political aspect of it, is like moving away from this Western Eurocentric vision of like the others, you know, this thing over there, Africa, Latin America, which like says in a way nothing, right? But is so often and for so long has been kind of these clusters that people talk about, and it's like this division between us and them. And I think in music as well, you have that. Like you say, if you say African music, like what does that even mean? Like you get, I mean, all of us probably get
it's
some
a country.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, and I think the minute like people take steps to just do a bit more research, like go into it, like but where exactly and why exactly and at what time exactly and like what does this mean and what impact did this music have? I mean, I feel like I learn so much when people start talking about the background of music, and it's so connected to also the history of countries and the political situation in countries, like what happened, like what music was made in the 70s in a lot of countries are still relevant in terms of like, you know, resistance movements and all of this. And I'm in a group called Angola. Well, I don't know what we're called anymore. Did you? Yeah, she's here. My boss is here. She's but like this, it's Tatiana Palanca and Liliana, her sister, right? They have this project that they started, which is like digging into the music of their parents from Angola in the 70s. And I won't speak for you, but like so much of what I mean, Jesus, the research that they've done, right, in talking to their like their mother, and talking to the people in the Angolan community in Bergen, but also outside of Norway, and trying to just learn about what this music meant at that time. And it's connected to like why even they are here, like my best friends, right? Like why are they here? Why are we in the same space? Well, I mean, your parents had to leave Angola, right, because of the civil war, and like it's all connected to colonialism and Portugal being there for so long, and you know, suppressing the Angolan culture. And so I think, you know, there's so much important information in the music that you miss the minute you just go African, Latin American, etc.
Thank you.
I can speak for well, it always comes back to like the rap music that I started listening to at an early age. A lot of it was quite aggressive, but diving into what actually went into that music, it taught me like a lot why that music sounds as aggressive as it is. Like, this isn't just some guys saying some stuff to be tough. This is the environment they're in, which is like a ridiculous environment. For instance, when I used to listen to NWA, I was like, wow, this, I mean, can't be this bad. And then you start reading about it, and you're like, wow, it's actually worse in real life than what the music depicts. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to complete this with my point of view. With my process of course, digging and sharing music, I try to correct two things. First of all, the misinformation, because of course we hear loads of things about this type of music or an artist or blah blah blah. And the other aspect is, of course, the Western ethnocentric but also commercial aspect. So for one century, as you said, like African music was mostly like Afrobeat. Sometime when they discovered all of a sudden Fela Kuti and Tony Allen, but of course Africa, for example, is a multi-ethnical and multi-country continent, huge. So the spectrum of music is really wide, and you can see that as soon as money is involved, you have like biased point of view of how they describe scenes and categories. So music is basically what you said at the beginning, like an emotions vector at the first sight. And then, of course, we can contextualize with history and especially colonialism. And I think that you don't pretend to be an ambassador of those music when you DJ, but you try to make people appreciate the music at the entire aspect with like the cultural and historical background. So for me, it does make sense because you have some artists who suffered, who starved from sacrificing their whole personal life for music. They made loads of sacrifices and family and stuff. They put all their money in making music, and they suffered like politically. Maybe they got like alienated by the politics or censored at some point. So it's important for us as a mission to give the whole thing, the whole storytelling about the music behind. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think also it's important to kind of, it's also an opportunity to have much more profound meetings with the people like that come and listen to the music, and also the happiness and the kind of affirmation people can feel when you play music that is important to them. It doesn't have to be about like geographically, but like playing something that is like maybe not as known, or this part of like a subculture, and then actually people come up to you and talk, and if they discover that you're actually like about this, it can be like so nice to kind of get into like as a way of affirming people and feeling connected across genres or across borders. And I was at the concert yesterday at Corner Theatre, and I think I got goosebumps at the time point because there were so many Brazilians in the audience, or like people who knew the music. And at one point, like there was this moment where like I heard some people singing behind me, just like screaming their lungs out to the song, and like you can feel like they were feeling so heard, seen, and like there can be so much like longing for maybe traveling in time to that country, or like experiencing that where you live in that moment. So it was really beautiful. It was just a moment of that thing.
And it's something special when you hear someone else play, someone who's not directly linked to the music or connected to the music, play and celebrate and appreciate that music.
Something unexpected, and then that can maybe like even like emphasize the experience, because it's like a surprise, and then wow, here in Bergen, what, like this song, so,
Yeah, that's right. I talked to my father last week. He's from Senegal. I was visiting him in Senegal, and he told me that when he lived here in Bergen, he took a pirate cab once, and the Polish guy that picked him up was playing music in Senegalese, in Wolof and Jola music. This Polish guy, he couldn't speak Norwegian, and he didn't speak much English, as far as I understood, but he played Wolof music, and that's really impressive. Yeah.
Immediate connection.
Yeah. I think it's really nice that you mentioned Miss Tati and Liliana in the back, because Angola 70, the group you're a part of, as far as I've understood, you've also played music that's been forbidden before. And today, at the stage, the Corner Theatre in the evening, we have Gerson's uncle, Chis Lopez, performing music, Fuana music from Cape Verde, as far as I know. And Fuana music used to be forbidden in Cape Verde for being too African.
Simon taught me that.
Simon Alejandro.
I actually didn't know.
Yeah. And again, we've talked a bit about why it's important that we know about this. Why is it important for the audience to know this? Like, is it important for them to know this?
Do you know about the music?
That it's been forbidden, that now we can celebrate it and we can see Liliana and Miss Tati dance to this music.
I mean, depending on which culture you're from, of course you have like different appreciation of the way you storage archives. So sometimes they are very hard to unearth. Luckily nowadays we've got YouTube, so people now share some vinyls and tapes. We keep doing this, and this is how you realize that every single country has like loads of music to share and loads of rhythms that you were basically not sensitive to. and then you just basically vibe on it, and that's also what Jungelfest offers to most of people here. I love Cabo Verde, of course, so I've been there, and I've been on different islands. Like every single island has its own culture, and funny enough, I mentioned that before, but I linked up with his uncle like a few years back because I was looking for some copies, and he was, I think, living in Italy back a few years back, something like this.
Yeah, that's where he resides. But
Exactly.
he lives in Luxembourg now.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's why they got reissued the vinyls in Italy and stuff, and that's the kind of connection. So people can nowadays appreciate, as I said, like that wide spectrum of music through archivists, reissue compilations. I think, of course, of the Ngola sisters here. You got loads of Ngolan music shared. For example, you got from any country, even like some that you don't expect. I discovered recently like some black goth Norwegian music, but very rare. Like and I was like, okay, so you got some niche everywhere. So we are happy enough trying internet. Now I have like easy access to this knowledge, so you have to enjoy it properly.
I guess it also speaks to how much music how much meaning it is in music, like in terms of building community and connecting to each other. When actually you're speaking about forbidding music, right? Like that says so much about. That's like tool number one. Like you cannot speak your language, you cannot play this music, and you get incarcerated and punished for playing music. Like the lyrics aren't right. You're not respecting, and like it sounds so old-fashioned and like, well, it's not like that anymore. But it's in Iran now, several artists incarcerated because they've supported the uproar against the regime and like supported the fight for just like for women to just be alive. And this is 2004, and like this is still a thing that like music is such a strong tool to communicate different aspects. And like even here in Norway, like we have an active and have had an active politics of suppressing our native community, like the Sami population, right? Like they were also not allowed to speak their language, they were not allowed to play their music, and like they have a huge gap in their history. There's this gap because like their culture was deleted practically, so like the only thing that was alive was between family members or between friends, and that's here. And that's very real. Like just last year, there was this huge document by this commission, right, that looked into this, like this fornorskingspolitikk, like Norwegianization politics of the native culture in Norway. And so many Sami Norwegian artists now these days, young people trying to figure out trying to dig back and like find the scraps of like their history and their culture and like building on that. So yeah, it is important.
We've talked a little bit about parents as interpreters, the roots of the music, etc. And Tora said a key word when we talked earlier. She said there is some sort of legacy mentality here. In what we were discussing, because I asked you if maybe we have some sort of responsibility in taking this culture of the music further. Like you say, Girson, you are already approaching your parents' music or music from Capo Verde that you haven't had before. Are we responsible for like sampling this music and using it and distributing it forward? Yeah, it's for all of you.
Saying that you're responsible for anything that has to do with music, I don't think so. No one is like responsible to do anything, but it's definitely getting more important for me. It's definitely something that I think a lot more about, and it's a way for me to show. For instance, I have 2 younger daughters that are born here, and one of them's been to the islands, but she was 7 months when she was there. So they don't know that much about the culture. Like I'm trying to teach it to them, but I think if I put it in a musical sense, because they listen to a lot of my new songs. They don't listen to my old music. That's a conversation for when they get older. But yeah, I definitely think it's something that should be done, and it's something that I'm definitely gonna explore some more and put more of that Cape Verdean funk in it.
I have a question about this. Do you feel more concerned because also you are one of the only of your community here, or?
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you were more from Cabo Verde, you think that you would be like?
That's another thing, because like all of like the older generation from Cape Verde I used to live in, they all moved back to Cape Verde. So there's literally like I can count on my fingers how many like second generation Cape Verdeans are here. First generation, it's like me and my brother and two other people. So yeah, super important.
Yeah, I think that's like there's just so few often, right? Like if I lived in Germany, you know, bringing the Turkish culture onto like the kids, or it wouldn't be something that I was doing on my own, or that would be relying on my father. You know, so
that's quite interesting to compare with France. That's why
big responsibility.
Huge.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Tora?
Always. No, but I think it was interesting. Also, you mentioned like the Sami population, but also I think responsibility or not is also like curiosity, like what we find interesting or valuable, and it can be very random. Like for example, here in Norway, like how some people find out that we have to find a way to preserve the folk music that actually was never recorded and that only passed down like through generations and like oral presentation. Like I sang something and you learned to sing it, and that's the way it was kind of transported from generation to generation. And I think like now music is just accessible in a very good way, but also it's really overwhelming because like you can actually just like access any music from anywhere in the world through streaming, or like it's easy for some things to get lost, and especially maybe like the folk music or music for children, for example. Like I've worked a lot with kids. I did my PhD with families and premature infants, and actually like encouraging parents to sing for their children instead of just putting on recorded music. There's also it's also about like musical practices. It's not just like preserving certain types of music, but actually maybe also like being aware of how music is part of our daily life and our relationships, and like participating in music without being a professional, because I think that's also a thing. Like music has become so professionalized, and it's like something that the professionals do, the talented people do. We're like nourishing talents, and what if you just like the everyday music practices, singing to your child, or like, you know, in the old times, like when people were working at boats, like singing to keep rhythm, like stay in sync. Like I think musical practices as well are very important, not just like certain expressions.
Very interesting. Any other thoughts before we open up for questions? Anything you want to say?
I would actually like to say that like this festival is like a good example, or we need this stuff, you know. This you were talking about like curiosity in terms of like genres and musics, and you know, trying to just kind of broaden the horizons, learning new things. And I think with Simon, for example, who like he runs this festival, by the way. When I got to know him, just like a young rapper, you know, just doing his thing, and then like watching how this like slowly how he's built this community around like Jungel and Jungelfest, and together with you guys and the team as well, like how it definitely creates this space for, you know, where you can feel like there's openness around just exploring who you are through music, and and getting some new perspective. And I'm really looking forward to your talk as well after, which is like a deep delve, you know, into something I don't know so much about.
Thank you. I don't know if you remember, but in the beginning I asked everyone, including the panel, to think of a music memory that's been important to you. Do you want to share something?
So we go from right to left.
We should go from yes. We'll start with you, Haj.
Just like typical family ceremonial memory. So in our apartment in the suburbs of Paris. So this is where I grew up and where I was born, basically, and where I spent maybe most of my life. And my dad, every single Sunday, when he was like putting out from the shelves his turntable, so we were not, of course, able to touch the turntable, but and then he was putting on the floor, and the living room has no furniture, just like the shelves, the turntable, and he was putting on the floor the turntable, and then like the vinyl, and we were gathered all around the turntable listening to it. And he went from Rai, of course, Shabi, which is another Algerian style of music, to French music or whatever he had in his collection. So this is a good memory because, of course, this is the starting point of discovering music. And we had no YouTube, no internet, and we took the time to appreciate music. So I think it's something that it's disappearing right nowadays. So I miss that time, I think.
That's a beautiful memory. Irem?
Yeah, it's family related as well. So like being 15, 16-ish years old in like the countryside in Norway, in our house, in my room, and like having put on this record by Ibrahim Tatlıses, which is this amazing Turkish singer, this album Tek Tek. And I was listening to it and just remembered that my dad, like, I think the door was closed, but like he came in because he heard the music. It was on really loud. And then like him coming in, and he didn't really say anything, but he like came into my room, and I was 16, right? So this like dad coming into a room, the door was closed. It's like, kind of breaking some some boundaries. But like he came in, and I remember he sat on the floor, and I was doing stuff. I was like tidying and stuff. We didn't talk at all, but we listened through that whole album, and that's such a good memory.
Yeah.
I think I want to choose like a memory about friendship and also like the teenage years. Like I did a reference to it earlier as well. I think I grew up in Lillehammer, like a small Norwegian city, going to a very like normal school, and I was very interested in music from the beginning of my life. And but I think like the teenage years were so formative in terms of like figuring out what's my music and relating to like my parents' music and taking distance to something. And but I think like me and my best friend, like we really like actually like we grew our friendship so much like about music. Like we connected so much to like looking through each other's CDs, going to buy CDs together, and also like finding the music that we like that were different from everyone else's. And like I think we really felt like for example, there's one song by Bikini Kill that is called Rebel Girl, like that was about us. Like you kind of like you just integrate the music and you make it yours, and like that was about us.
Can relate. Girsan?
This is nothing to do with much with family, but I would like to draw, for me, it's the discovery of a certain group called UGK and Southern rap music, because it's not that it's just influential for me, but it actually means a lot for like the rap scene in Bergen as a whole. Because when we discovered that, like no one else in Norway everyone was listening to like New York rap, boom bap, which is cool. But us discovering that and slowing our music down and putting new influences into our music gave us, at least in a Norwegian perspective, like that little edge that made us not sound like any other regions from Norway. And for Alaga, that was everything, because that gave us our sound. So I would say that's a really important memory for me.
Wow, that's great. Thank you for sharing. I want to ask if anyone has questions. I haven't seen any questions come in on the anonymous part. There is a person who wants to ask a question. Would you want to come to the stage? I'm going to try to give you the mic like this.
I'm Rodolfo. I'm here in Norway for almost 5 years now.
A bit closer, please.
Yeah, and I'm from Brazil. So it's hearing the description of what it sounded or looked like in the concert yesterday, which I haven't been, unfortunately, but it gives me the feeling of home, and then I could identify with many things you were discussing. The question I have is a kind of a big question that has been repeated in different events and different perspectives. So today I would kind of maybe want to hear from the panel a bit of the music perspective in it. And I heard of how important this kind of events are, because to bring this kind of conversation into Bergen, which it can be sometimes quite limiting, the space you have to talk about those things and different backgrounds, identities. So how in the music perspective, how to, besides this kind of events, or if they're more into it, to integrate more other cultures, because Norway has not been a one culture country for a long, long time. And sometimes, even though I'm here for a little time, I can feel like it's really, really hard to breach through it, because many times I ask for a Brazilian song from a random DJ in different events, and they don't even know a song to play. Not that it had any obligation to know, but I just feel like there's no space for like, oh, maybe I'll look into it, and maybe another time it will happen that once I will hear to it. So yeah, any insights on that would be interesting to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, we can have the mic here. Thank you so much for your question. Any thoughts? This is a it's a large question. It's a very important question. But if we have spaces or that we can continue these conversations and do other things than these events, is that your question? That's a part of the question. Okay, we'll start there. Tore, you took the mic first.
Yeah, I'm not from here. No. But we spoke briefly about that with Simon yesterday, and he told me that you got here in the festival some support from the institutions, which is already a good starting move, I think, in a way. We've been speaking about people sensitive here to some causes which are geographically far away from here. So you can correlate this with the interest of music from abroad, I think, and maybe people, thanks to Simon and other actors, will start very similar initiatives. In a way, I don't know, but for example, in France we suffocate of too much projects, and now they overlay to each other, so we don't really appreciate them anymore. So here, enjoy the fact that you've got space to do more and more things, because as soon as it's going to be saturated, I think you'll be very let's say tired of that, exhausted. So that's the right time right now for doing things until you've got too much things to do.
I think there's also movement on this in Bergen. Like a lot of stuff has happened over the last 10 years. I mean, there wasn't any kind of spaces, I feel like, when I started living in the city. It was all like, if you wanted something different or something that was closer to, if you were exploring the more kind of multicultural side of things, I mean, it was hip hop, I think, in a way, that was kind of where you, hip hop, that was kind of where you went. And I think just looking at the city now, there was like this, somebody started it somewhere, and like slowly people are understanding that like you can let that side of you out, you can show that to the fullest, like Simon is doing here, and then also with Club Diaspora, and there are like these concepts, and also other places are now booking DJs that are not just playing commercial, whatever, pop music or whatever, and then there is space for that. There is a curiosity. It's still Norway, but it's feels like there is a movement. And I think we mentioned Karpe before, yeah, and you could say, like you were saying, you're not going to do what Karpe did, but like what they actually did, like for me, that it was a massive impact. Like when they released this EP, Omar Sharif, right? But with the universe that they created around it, with like really just allowing for this hybrid identity that maybe so many of us kind of feel like we have, like being so many things, like a multiple set of identities within ourselves, like them kind of managing to put that into one EP just through lyrics, but also through sampling stuff from their parents' cultures and home countries, and like I think, and also like hearing thousands of Norwegians like singing Allah, Allah, you know, in like a huge, massive stadium setting was just like so beautiful. So like felt like crazy and wonderful.
Never happened in France, to be honest.
No, right? Yeah, but it like, yeah, I think there's some positive stuff happening in the terms of just letting your identities show, you know. So, I mean, I get that it feels maybe like it's slow, but hoping that, but you know, you should just seek out the good stuff like Club Diaspora, Jungelfest, etc. You'll be good.
I agree. And also, I think this conversation should inspire people to do things like that. Maybe you're the one who should do something like that. Yeah, maybe.
Some baile funk, maybe.
Yeah.
I think we can take it as an invitation also, like the ones of us who are organizing, because I think sometimes we get very like caught up in making concepts and like narrowing it down to certain genres, or like, so what we've done with my collective Concept X is just integrating some more open deck sessions where anyone can come and play their music, because you can't please everyone with what you have on your USB stick, but it's always fun to have someone share their music. But like your experience, I think that's also an open invitation to all of us who are working in the cultural scene here to find ways and actually just like noticing like who's in the room when we're playing and who's not there. Like who are we not reaching? Because yeah, there will always be like certain events they draw certain people, but how can we maybe get to some new people, or make some space, I guess.
Thank you. We have time for one last question, and then it's not like this conversation is going to stop. We're going to have food, and we can still interact and talk in more informal ways, not in front of the camera and with the audio recording. But if anyone wants to ask, then... Oh, we have two. Okay. No, I'm going to give space to both of you. Let's go for it. Please say your name as well. Yeah.
Okay, so hi, my name is Kayla, Cape Verdean, and I'm very glad with this festival in general, because as Rodolfo was saying, sometimes you can feel a little bit like difficult to integrate, and I'm new to Norway, like I'm being here for like 2 years, and things like this are very motivating not to leave Norway, so thank you. But I have a question regarding these genres, like the importance of classifying the type of music that you're listening, because I don't know what you guys think about this genre that they called world music, because my Spotify year recap or something said that I listen a lot to world music. Back in my home country we call it coladera. But yeah, my question would be in terms of that.
We need to have our own panel discussion about this. So this is a huge topic, and I think all of us have many opinions about it.
I can say I don't like the term world music. To me, it's the same as saying urban music. It's crazy that we're still using that term world music. I mean, what's world music?
It's world music.
Isn't it everything?
It's become really empty and hollow.
Yeah.
But that's an idea for a future event, that we dissect this topic. Yeah. So Subaida, we have.
Okay, this might be a question that's a bit long too, so perhaps we can just dwell on it. My name is Subaida. I live in Oslo, and I work for an association called Balansekunst, and I have background from Ethiopia. So Gerson, in the beginning you were talking about NWA and some experiences you had with reading their texts, and you were like, okay, this made an impression on you, and then you went to explore the text further, and then you realized, oh, their reality is actually much more worse. And I remember seeing the movie Straight Outta Compton, and I remember how many people criticized the hip hop genre of being too vile, too harsh, and everything. And they were like, okay, but this is actually our reality. We're just illustrating our reality. Which takes me to my question of definition power. I sometimes feel like there is a pressure or an expectation to certain music genres, certain minority groups to portray their music in a certain way. And it's kind of related to what you said. Do you guys feel that there is some people, some groups, that their definition power of music is concentrated somewhere, where someone gets labeled as, I don't know, urban or world music, where something is just, I don't know, jazz or whatever. Yeah.
Hodge?
Yeah. On my own perspective, I see that music industry in France has a huge influence, for example, on hip hop and rap music. So if you wanna come out from that niche and be touching more and more people, you have at some points to twist and transform yourself and maybe lose your pure substance on the money aspect. So it's really hard to deal in being very authentic and also like touch loads of people at the same time. Because you will need some financial support to let's say to touch more and more people in a small time window. And I think also the way that we consume music does affect that, because we have like limited time of being famous or being accessible to other people. So it put even more pressure on the way you have to show yourself to other people and the way they're going to appreciate your music or not. The marketing now is taking loads of space in the way you show and share your music and identity. And I think for me it's too sad to see that, and that's why I keep being on vinyl and keep maybe a bit nostalgic of the music from behind, because you can see that those artists, and maybe Chis or for example is the type, and they were self-releasing the music. So of course they were starving and suffering from that, but at least they were doing their own thing, enjoying themselves. Suffering, yes. Not being rich, but at least they are fulfilled. Exactly. Nowadays, it's hard to be like on both aspects, I think.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. We can continue discussing this afterwards. Yeah, we've... did you want to say something, Irene? No. Anyone else? I want to say thank you for everyone, to everyone who came, all my good friends, family, and all you other cool strangers in this room. Also, thank you so much to this wonderful panel. Thanks for sharing. And I also want to give a shout out to Hibak. Come forward, please. Come through.
Wow. She's got the flowers. Wow. Thank you.
Haj Samir.
Thanks. Lovely.
Yeah. Ire Muftolo. Tora Stöderström Mörgarden. And Gisnon Diaz. Thank you. Leave it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll get it later. It's fine. Thank you so much, everyone. We're going to put on some music soon with Piñata Radio. Thank you so much for streaming, guys. Thank you for all the equipment, Zachary, Max, and Tom. Also, I want to say a huge thank you to Jungelfest and all the organizers. You know who you are. Special thanks to Lena, Emily, Simon, Hibak, Anna. Thank you. And please hang out. We will have food soon. Don't know exactly when, but there will be some nice Manaish, Arabian pizza. Very nice. And then there's drinks, coffee, serve yourself. Sorry for Piñata listeners, you won't get this, but you are here in spirit. Thank you, everyone.